Okay, let's get started. So thank you everyone for joining in for today's session. My name is Thomas. I'm the president of the society. And thank you so much to Hardik for organizing today's event around clean tech entrepreneurship with Solar Ladder. Super excited to have our two guests here today with Manan and Farhan. Over the course of the year, we host many events at the Edinburgh University, all about Edinburgh entrepreneurship, from networking to workshops. So without any further ado, I'll let Hardik take it away.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Thomas. It's my pleasure to be hosting tonight's event. My name is Hardik Dhanuka. I'm the keynote organizer for the NSOC, position I acquired very recently, thanks to the committee. Today's event is focused on clean tech, solar energy in Southeast Asia in particular. Rather niche topic, but we feel it's something that makes a difference to society and the world at large, which is why we organized this particular event. And as our guests, we have the co-founders of a company which is on the brink of $1 trillion market and is on the brink of revolutionizing how 1/3 of the world's population meets its energy needs. So we've got Manan Mehta and Farhan Ahmed, two of the three co-founders of Solar Ladder, a Southeast Asia-based marketplace / software as a service company. They primarily work with solar vendors, provide them with automation software, project management software, marketing software. And they also run a marketplace where people who are interested in installing solar systems in their homes, their factories, their shops can go and submit their proposals, and they can then receive bids from a list of verified vendors on the platform, and the best bid goes through. They've already done some massive projects so far. So it's a pleasure to have you both with us. Thank you, Manan. Thank you, Farhan.
Thank you, Hardik. Just one correction over there. We primarily operate in South Asia. So India is our main country of operation. And we've recently just started operations in Nigeria. So
awesome.
That's just a little bit of.
That's wonderful. Something I didn't even know. That's wonderful. So I'll just start off with a quick question for you and Farhan. Both of you can answer it, and one of you can start off, the other one can just chime in. So it's basically about the background behind your company, because what you do is fairly niche, right? It's not what you see the majority of people doing with them starting, I don't know, coupon apps or social media platforms, right? So what you do is fairly niche. It's something that wasn't done in Southeast Asia or Nigeria for that matter before you guys started doing it. So what exactly was the motivation behind your idea? Because you guys enjoyed some early success. You received awards from Facebook, London School of Economics. You were among the 15,000 participants in Y Combinator's Startup School program, which you eventually ended up winning along with a few other companies, right? So what exactly was the seed behind this idea? What convinced you guys that this was something worth pursuing? Because both of you had prestigious job offers, and what were the early days like?
Sure, I'll let Farhan start that off because it started with him being at Berkeley. So yeah, Farhan, take it away.
So basically, just a small background before we get into that. Me and Manan, we're basically school friends from class 5. We've been in the same school team and the same football and cricket class team also. And we've been pretty good friends. And just before, I remember, just before my time, before I was supposed to go to UC Berkeley for my end semester, I remember having this call in a mall. Basically, me and Manan basically just met up just before that, and we were like, we should be doing things like, we should be starting something out, and we should try something out. And I think that talk kind of stuck, and we kept in touch even while he was at Warwick and I was at Berkeley, and we were just throwing ideas off each other's minds, basically, like, what we can do. And I remember at that point when I was in California, there were too many, every other household that I noticed that there was a lot of solar panels installed. And then, I was kind of saying, why can't we have this kind of a thing, a revolution in India? Why is there so much of solar in California when there's huge amount of surplus sunlight in India that's there? and we were trying to understand which way we can promote solar in India. And I was lucky basically in California. Basically, I got a chance to work in this was basically a blockchain kind of a club where we made a project. It was based on solar, where it was mostly about a crowdfunding solar application where we can raise finance from different people to basically fund solar projects. And that's kind of the idea that I discussed with Manan, and he also was very interested in something, trying something like that. And that's when, like, post our graduation, both of us basically came back to India, and we tried to start this. Just a small history here, like Manan's, the third co-founder is basically Manan's university friend from Warwick, who went on to do his master's at London School of Economics, Abhishek. And so, yeah, that's how we started Unurja. Basically, earlier it was basically called Unurja. So, I would like first Manan to add on to this part before we get into the details.
Sure. So to be very honest, we wouldn't say that we had a higher calling where clean tech was always the answer. We never knew that it's we want to do something in solar. It was something that we just stumbled upon, and once we realized, like, we got deeper into the industry, we realized that this is something worth pursuing because it falls, like so-called like a millennial ikigai, where you can get paid for it. It creates a social impact, and also like it's something very easy to be passionate about. So we started off on our journey in solar without really having any like family business background in it or any like exposure to it before. It was literally just three friends who had gotten together to create something meaningful. So that's been our background, just like in terms of personal backgrounds. So as like I studied in the UK as well. So I was at University of Warwick, and I studied economics there, and I also graduated as an outstanding student at Warwick. I had done quite a lot of social impact work while I was at Warwick, and that made me want to carry on work in the social impact space through Unergia and Solar Ladder. So that's been my personal background. And yeah, Farhan and I, we've been friends in school, and Abhishek was a friend from university.
Awesome, awesome. So you've sort of mentioned that, one of the things that lured you into doing this was a chance to create positive social impact, right? And you've been operating for almost 2.5 years. You've obviously done very well for yourself, given the number of awards you've won, the number of deals you've done, the number of states in India you've expanded to, and the fact that you're now, on 2 continents, right? So you've got Africa as well. But what would you say is, some of the positive social impact you've created? Is that something you could elaborate upon, how you've actually been able to do something for society through this venture?
Absolutely. So I think one of the ways in which we as a company measure our impact is how much carbon footprint reduction we have enabled through our software or the marketplace. And right now, like in terms of the number of projects that we have enabled, obviously, like we haven't set up those projects, so we can't claim 100% of the credit for it. But in terms of the total projects that have been facilitated through our software, it is somewhere around like 50 megawatts on our software and through the marketplace over the 2.5 years.
Just to provide some context to our viewers, a regular solar farm tends to be about 2 megawatts. So, they've contributed about 25 solar farms worth of output already, and that's just in 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just trying to quickly trying to calculate how much that is in pounds. So give me a second. Farhan, do you want to carry on to that until I finish my calculations.
So basically, what Manan was being trying to tell you is that one, obviously we'll obviously go into details about what Unoja was in marketplace and the software solar ladder right now. But the way we look at things is that through software we are trying to enable the solar companies to increase their and improve their processes of installation of solar. So what we realize is maybe not directly but indirectly we are trying to promote the use through solar through the use of software. We want to promote more installations, and I think we've noticed that people have through the software, like we when we've spoken and have this feedback also about the solar companies, they've realized that they could achieve more potential because of the use of software. They could actually enhance their operations much faster and quicker.
Wonderful, wonderful. Manan, if you're still trying to do your calculation, you can take the amount divided by 100. That's the.
It's about 15 million pounds worth of assets. So
15 million pounds worth of assets.
Yeah, 15 million. Yeah.
15. Is that 15 or 50?
15.
15 million pounds worth of assets in just 2 years.
These are
incredible.
These are assets which are stored on our database, and all the installers on our software are basically using our software in order to facilitate these projects. And at the same time, incredible. These are also projects that have gone through the marketplace.
Wonderful.
But yeah, we can probably claim like 1% of the credit for all the projects that our partners do.
That would still be about 150,000 pounds, a massive amount nonetheless. A 4-year degree at the University of Edinburgh costs about 100,000 pounds, and you've done 50% more than that in just 2 years. So that's an incredible accomplishment, no doubt. So something I'd like to ask you is, you obviously operate in a niche segment because you don't get a ton of millennials who want to revolutionize the solar industry, at least not in the way that you guys are trying to do it, right? And the legendary Peter Thiel says that competition is for losers. So he likes it when the people he invests in are operating in a segment where there is no competition. Would you say that is the case with you, where you have next to no competition or you have very little competition? And is that just the case in Southeast Asia, or is that also the case globally across the UK, the US, Canada, and other countries?
So solar software is a very niche field. I think there aren't, at least in South Asia, there aren't too many companies which are trying to, provide the full stack throughout the entire value chain, from the point where the lead is generated to the point where the automation of after sales service happens. So there aren't too many companies that are doing that. At the same time, I feel like since you quoted Peter Thiel and about his entire theory about competition is for losers, I think what he also tries to emphasize in that statement is that even if you have competition, which, regardless of how small or big an industry you are in, you will always have it. The emphasis should always be on customer satisfaction rather than how your competitors are doing. So I think that's more of the focus that Peter Thiel, and also I think it's safe to say that we also Farhan is the guy who handles the product mostly. His entire approach is crowdsourcing problems that the customers are facing and building a solution around those problems. I think Farhan would be the best person to speak about this approach.
So what we believe is basically like even solar ladder, for instance, the software that we developed, it was over time is what we actually stacked up issues. So we started with a very, very basic issue. What we believe is we need to move fast. That's what we believe internally. That's the motto. We had kept it very closed initially with a very small set of users, which solar companies that we already knew. And we were just, we just made a basic version of the software, and you're just trying to get multiple feedbacks from them, constantly getting feedbacks and constantly trying to stack up the software for all the, from the start to the end point. Whether we started with the basic CRM and information, and then we started understanding, okay, what are the other informations can we basically help and tailor the software to, from inventory, from project management to even the financials, the O&M post installation. So what we do is we try to understand, okay, at every stage, what could be the issues, what are the problems that they're facing, and how can we come up with a solution for it and stack it up. So we believe that we can just push things fast, and we can build the product. We don't believe in taking too much time, and believing in regular and quick feedback. So like maybe there might be some issues and bugs and stuff, but we believe that we push it first, understand the bugs and think, and quickly just make the changes and improvements, so that we can actually keep it very agile and quick with the process. And I think that's the difference here. What we noticed is that because of the full stack approach, there aren't too many people. There are people who are trying to solve specific problems. We are trying to do a full stack approach where we want to tailor the entire experience through the software.
Wonderful. With regard to that, what would you say is your moat? What would you say are your barriers to entry? Because you mentioned that the very few other companies that provide the whole service along the entire chain, along the entire value chain. But now that I know your formula, I know your secret sauce, what would stop me, as an ambitious 21-year-old from hiring a developer, getting them to build their software, and becoming a competitor of yours in this market? So what exactly is your moat with regard to that?
We believe that we constantly keep on building and keep on improving our existing service. Like, we don't back down, and we still don't feel like we have, even though we've made so much, we still think that there's plenty of things we still have to improve upon with the constant feedback. So it's always about improving what you are currently doing, understanding the customer feedback, and using that loop cycle to always improve on the product. And it takes any competitor that comes, they have to keep on, like, they'll have to, for them to reach the stage, you can always keep on improving your process. And once you know that you are one of the better ones out there, people just want to be part of your product. So that's the thing.
There's no moat. I think you could start a company similar to ours. That there would be no moat. That's the entire thing about SaaS in general. Like,
right.
The only thing that I wouldn't even call it a moat. Like, a differentiator would be that we've just, we fall down 5 times, we get up 6 times. That's the only difference. Where we know the issues that customers and the installers are facing. We know them too deep to be able to build products around those problems that we know. Otherwise, really, there is no moat.
Awesome. But I think that's about SaaS in general, right? Because even if you look at Salesforce, which is the market leader, it has less than 20% market share in the CRM category. So, this is not like your consumer apps. So it's not a winner take all segment. It has segmentation in comparison. But I think this is where companies differentiate themselves on the basis of operational excellence, which, given your metrics and your accomplishments, is what you guys have accomplished so far.
I'll just add here one more beauty about SaaS is that since we have developed already a head start for the end-to-end stack that we have, the point is, in a SaaS business, it's not easy for a company to move operations from one SaaS software, an entire software, just to the other one, just based on the price or something. Let's say somebody ends up building a product, and just for price, no company wants to just shift, because it is not easy. Once you understood how the product works, it takes a lot of training cycles for the employees, for your to how to handle these things. All your data is there, so it becomes very difficult for people to actually shift from one process to the other. And that's why, even for that instance, like, you'll notice, like, Salesforce is the market leader because of those very instances. So yeah, SaaS is something that's like as a consumer model, yes, you could always shift based on the price. You can just download the other app, but as a B2B platform, it's very difficult for companies to just shift just in a day. They have a lot of process and a lot of things that they have to understand and make sure that all the employees understand and train and learn the new software. So that learning cost, their opportunity cost, do they think is it worth it? Is that little bit price differentiation? So it has to be significantly lower in cost for them to make that jump, because they have other important things that they have to consider, not just cost.
So the switching costs are fairly high, and right. But on the topic of SaaS, you guys started off as a marketplace. That's how you won your initial grants. That's how you won your initial awards. That's how you got your initial clients. You made your initial money. So why exactly the pivot from marketplace to SaaS? A, B, what was the pivot like? Because you are now operating in the same industry, but in a very different manner, right? Because earlier it was about connecting those who needed solar panels or solar systems to the vendors, whereas now it's more of a pipeline model where you're building the product and you're supplying it to the vendors. So what was that pivot like? How challenging was it? And what do you think will its overall impact be on your company in retrospect and also looking forward?
I think I wouldn't call, let's say the marketplace was like successful in the sense that we completed 40 plus projects. And I think at that time, it also shows the evolution of us as entrepreneurs. Because, when we started off that marketplace, it was just with the intention that, we want to do something in solar. We did not have the business acumen to basically question that, are we going to be able to create a stable business model out of this? Are we going to basically, is the market mature enough to have a marketplace kind of a model thriving in the ecosystem? These were the questions that we hadn't asked ourselves when we started off as a marketplace. But what it did beautifully for us was that it gave us very deep insights into the issues that our partner installers were facing, in the sense that even though we were giving them projects on a platter to, like we served it on a platter for them to just quote on the projects, they would still take a lot of time and effort to get back to us, and we could not afford those inefficiencies in our systems. So that's when we basically, after deep, getting a deep insight into their functionings, that's when we started building out tools that would, help them automate, outsource, or simplify all their other functions, so that they can concentrate on what they are best at, which is setting up more solar. So that's when the pivot happened, because we realized that SaaS is a very stable business model, even though, and also from an external point of view, India, and I think generally, even the US for that matter, is not, the solar industry is not ready for a marketplace, so to say, right now. So how even in e-commerce, there are definitely every industry goes through evolution. Marketplace probably comes in the last stage. So Indian solar industry has not, for that matter, US solar industry, we don't have any. We have a Sunrun, we have Vivint, which are close to $10 billion companies, which are solar execution companies. But there are no marketplaces which are doing extremely well. I think in terms of that market maturity as well, there is India is also at least 5 to 10 years behind the US when it comes to that kind of maturity. So yeah, the marketplace was successful in the sense that we completed all these projects, we learned a lot, and but we got one-time success-based commission, which does not make a stable business.
Right. So it was the concept of recurring revenue that moved you from marketplace to SaaS, I guess. On that topic, you've been profitable since day one, right? You've had a lot of success since day one, because even before you launched, you got a decent grant from the London School of Economics' Generate program. Since then, you've won awards from Y Combinator and Facebook. You've obviously garnered a lot of interest, and you've obviously made money from the projects you've done via the marketplace and your SaaS business. So it's very rare to see an innovative enterprise which is profitable from day one, which has accomplished what you've accomplished without burning through piles of cash. However, you've not raised any rounds of financing or funding so far. So what's your take on that? Is it because you feel that it's not necessary in the segment you operate in, or because of your business model, or is it because you didn't want to give up control, or is it because like some companies like Inframarket, you were more focused on financial metrics and business metrics and your company's growth as opposed to just raising money and having a great valuation on Crunchbase?
Farhan, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, sure. So earlier when we had started, so I'll just give you a small brief, I think for the audience back, I just for Unergia and Solar Ladder, I think they might be getting a bit confused. So Unergia is basically what we had started. It was a marketplace where we connect all the customers who wanted to go solar to solar installers in a particular city. And we handle the process. We used to be the intermediaries where we basically handled even the designing and all these inter aspects of it, so that to make the process very simple, advise the installer, the customer, which are the good brands, which are the good installers they should go ahead with. And this is the process that we've done based on the findings and the issues and the problems that we discovered, and trying to improve and fasten the process. We have then shifted our process to basically making Solar Ladder, which was a software, end-to-end software for solar companies to improve and fasten their process of installation of solar. So yeah, coming back to your question. So when we had started Unergia as a marketplace, like Manan has already added, we had got a couple of successful projects that we were running. We understood the problem. We understood how things were going. And what we realized in this problem was it was a B2C product. It was a marketplace, like consider a marketplace like Amazon. So Amazon doesn't bet that for the first product that you buy, they might not make money. Bet that you like the experience and you want to come back to Amazon again to buy. And that's the bet that a marketplace does. In considering Unergia, when we had done a marketplace, we were doing the entire experience for the customer. And since solar is a product that a customer buys almost once in his lifetime and it lasts for 25 years, it was like just a one-time commission that we were getting. And we weren't getting any other recurring purchases on the platform. So once the entire cost for us to manage and handle the customer was huge, like the CAC was high, and we never got a chance to for the customer, even if we like the experience, to again come and purchase on the platform. And so it was very expensive of a model to run. And at that point, we were trying to figure out the proper MVP that we had. And I think that's when we started with Solar Ladder. And this kind of skyrocketed the moment we understood the issues and we actually solved the problem. So what happens is when you jump into any industry or anything, as first-time founders, we always try to find a B2C issue because we don't understand the internal processes of how things run. We understand what we actually see. So that's why you notice all first-time founders generally start with the B2C product, and then over time they might shift to a more B2B product. And that's where we basically understood the internal efficiency after running the marketplace for like 1.5 years and shifting to like Solar Ladder. So right now we have, right now I think we are starting our fundraising soon because we reached that MVP that I would say, where we've gotten our right set of customers, we've gotten our pretty famous customers also onto the platform, and we've got organic growth that's happening for us. I would like Manan can basically get into a more deeper aspect on this part.
Yeah. So just a little bit of background, like in terms of financing, we had not, personally, we had not pitched in even like, the first round of funding is usually like a friends and family round. but we decided that we are going to skip that altogether and just sustain ourselves on like the grants that we had received. And what that did was basically it helped us learn frugality the long and the hard way. And once that happened, we were just focused on understanding how we can add value to the entire ecosystem rather than playing the valuation game, raising tons of money. I think inherently all businesses are fundamentally it's all about like what's problem you're solving, not about how much money you're raising. So it also shows like it also shows, again, as I said, like the evolution of us as entrepreneurs. Like I would say that we were not even like even if we got a chance to raise money in the past, we would not raise the money because we wouldn't know what exactly is to be done with that. So we've been focused on solving issues more than anything else. Capital is, since it's becoming a commodity, it comes to the companies which are doing well for themselves. And we've like the hockey stick growth, we've just started seeing that. And yeah, as Farhan said, this is the right time to be fundraising and growing the business even further. That said, there's also like an external factor, like these are like internal factors of the company, but there are also external factors that affect fundraising. So fintech, edtech, they are hot sectors. Clean tech hasn't been hot before this. So that is one of the other reasons which affects whether a company raises capital or not. It's not so much to do with the inherent value of the company, but it's also to do with whether there is exit potential for the investors who are putting in the cash. Is there a lot of like hullabaloo about the clean tech sector? That hasn't really happened until Joe Biden got into presidency, and there has been more emphasis on climate change and solar in general. Now is the time when things are starting to get hot, and which is why now is the perfect time externally and internally to raise capital.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So speaking about SaaS in general, right? Very interesting segment. People believe there's a $1 trillion opportunity in Southeast Asia in SaaS. What do you think are some other applications of SaaS outside of clean tech, outside of solar? Just for our viewers, because the way it's traditionally done is you sort of pick a vertical, right? So you can pick, for example, accounting and invoicing. You can pick customer relationship management, which is what Salesforce does, through which it's become a $100 billion company, right? So what are some other emerging opportunities that you see in SaaS, which you feel haven't been grabbed yet, and which offer tremendous gains in the future?
I feel I love the construction space. I think that is a huge opportunity. I think construction generally contributes 10% of the global GDP, and it is fit for a SaaS product it is like India and abroad, and even the UK and like everywhere else basically is this like the construction industry is rife for a software revolution. The reason being that there are quite a few factors that like there's obviously like mobilization of multiple teams that happens in a construction project, so communication becomes very problematic. And there's also like cost overruns is a big issue that happens due to mismanagement of funds and labor and all of those aspects. And also up until now, construction was not so internet has penetrated to the extent that even the last man who's working on field can now have access to an application that helps them coordinate with the front office in order to coordinate the processes. So I feel like construction is a giant industry which has not been touched so much by software. And yeah, I would say that like while solar is a subset of construction on a whole, whether when it comes to real estate and all of that, it's a very rife industry to be to tap into.
Wonderful. Just so our viewers know, for those interested in Southeast Asia, India's fastest unicorn is a company called Infra.Market. And one of the founders went to the same school as Manan and Farhan, whom we have on the show here. So big people
And
coming
you.
out of that school. Yeah. So
So we
Farhan,
all
do you
went
have
to the
anything
same
to add
school.
to that? Farhan, do you have anything to add to that? What do you think about opportunities in SaaS?
So, like rightly Manan said, I honestly believe that software is going to eat up the world. I honestly believe that it's taking up every segment, whether that is healthcare, whether that's construction. These are like huge verticals. To even the smallest of things. Like now we are just trying to find out the entire problem state, like for every industry, and we are just trying to see how we can use software to enable and fasten the process and make the thing much simpler and better. Yeah, basically yes. So basically, software at every stage, like earlier, hospitals used to have a dedicated writer beside the doctor to understand and take his notes and stuff. And now everything is through AI and software that automatically tracks and takes all that information and already stores all of that data. So I do believe that every industry is going to be attacked by software, and through SaaS or through other ways, I don't know, but yeah, software is going to basically take up most of the industries.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this question is sort of directed towards Manan in particular, because Manan spent some time studying at the University of Warwick, 4 years to be precise, which obviously is in the UK as is a university. So Manan, what do you think about the clean energy space in the UK? Because well, I mean, there probably isn't a lot of solar, because at least we are sort of in the middle of Scotland, where there's about 8 hours of sunlight daily. But what do you think about clean energy in general? How the UK is doing, how it can progress further, whether you see any big companies coming out of there. We actually had a very interesting session with Stephen Fitzpatrick. He was the co-founder of, he was the founder of OVO Energy, I think the largest energy provider in the UK. So just to build upon that, Manan, what do you think about the clean energy space in the UK?
Unfortunately, I'm not too educated about the clean energy space in the UK. But what I do know, and what I do appreciate about like the UK like green energy revolution is that they have very strong uh, renewable trade facilitation that is happening between UK and the other countries. So I think so for one particular example would be UK and Norway. I think they are connected through North Sea Link, and UK is particularly, it is its strength is in wind power and solar power, and these are intermittent sources of energy. So what they have done is they have not there's a North Sea Link which helps UK trade intermittent electricity with Norway that can control hydropower. So I feel that those kind of models are very interesting, and that's turning North Sea into the largest renewable energy trade facilitator. I feel that is something that I have not seen in other places. There may be in other places as well these kind of setups, but I feel UK is really pioneering these sort of systems, because apart from North Sea Link, there's another few countries where they have such links. I think that is fantastic.
Just to add to that, because you sort of mentioned something which I'd not expected at all, but just to add to that, there's actually a similar link between Scotland and France as well as the Netherlands. These three countries share a link which originates at the Whiteley wind farm in Glasgow. It's the second largest wind farm in Europe. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to give a huge shout out to one of our partner societies, Engineering for Change. They're a society that is wonderfully dedicated to how engineering is creating positive social impact, as is the organization run by our guests tonight. So just a huge shout out to them who actually organized this tour back in 2020, something I had the good fortune of attending. Moving on, I think I'll now pick up a question that I've received from a member of the audience. This is from a friend of mine who also studies at the university, and he's from India actually. And his question is that solar is that energy in general is a regulated industry in the country, with electricity prices often being subsidized, not being subsidized, where there's a lot of crony capitalism in general, and corporates tend to sort of bribe politicians to stick to the coal-fired power plants that they already have billions of dollars worth of investment in, right? And this is also why you see some states not adopt very progressive policies, as he says in his question. Did you not feel this was a disadvantage while you were moving in? Because say tomorrow, if a very corrupt government were to rise to power and they would, double the value-added tax or some indirect tax on solar panels in general, thus making them very expensive, wouldn't that significantly hurt your business? So is this something you ever considered?
So yeah, Farhan, please.
Basically, what the beauty about solar has become now that over the past 10 years, solar prices have fallen down by 90%, and it's reached to a level where solar is lesser at cost than even coal-powered energy. So it's not it's reached to a point where I think solar can sustain itself and be more profitable than you buying coal-powered energy. And earlier, yes, there were a lot of subsidies that backed it, and like even in the US, solar was progressing to a point where then they discovered how energy can be, how oil can be procured from the rocks, and suddenly again the prices of oil had fallen down, and then it did not make sense for solar at a small stage in the middle. But again, solar has, since this constant fall of prices for solar, now it's reaching a point where people just find it more financially viable and more effective for having a solar system. Even factories and bigger companies, like you mentioned, people prefer using solar is because they realize that the financial incentives for them is longer down the road. It reduces their costs significantly. So these are like the benefits of going solar, I would say. Manan, you want to add something here?
Yeah, so I actually want to shift the focus. So this has been like, in this entire talk, we have mentioned the UK and the India quite a few times. I want to shift the focus for this particular question to Nigeria, for example. So what has happened right now is that we've received, like a few customers in Nigeria who are, paying us for the software. And that led us to, explore how the entire like electricity infrastructure works over there. And what we realized is that like in places like Nigeria, even in the most advanced cities over there, what happens is that there are about 4 hours of the day in the major metropolitan cities that they do not get power. Like there is load shedding of some sort. Now, the reason why solar plus battery is a great solution for them is because they can, rid themselves of planning that day on the basis of their load sheddings. that that they usually do. But that's why it's like it's picking up so much in Africa as well. So while solar is an intermittent power, solar plus battery, which is, things are getting better for battery. Like things haven't been great for batteries for the past 10 years, but things are looking up for batteries as well. Solar plus battery is a great solution to intermittency of power in regions which do not get the regular access to it. And apart from that, as Farhan said, like, in terms of the levelized cost of electricity, solar has become cheaper than coal in most of the countries. And of course, like there is the entire like push for climate friendly sources of energy, which is like helping all of the world to adopt solar. And like one last point is that a lot of the coal-fired power plants and all these huge power plants, what they need is an efficient grid infrastructure, which is a miss in a lot of developing countries. So it requires like a transmission of electricity. What solar rooftop does is that it's the only viable decentralized source of energy that we have. It makes us envision a future wherein if solar plus batteries become so much cheaper than coal, we may just be able to get rid of the entire these power lines that we see all over the country, at least in like in the developing countries. So that's another reason why solar is proliferating.
Wonderful. That's amazing to know. Sort of moving towards the end of this interview, so I'd like to ask you a question on a more personalized note. At the beginning of this interview, you mentioned that the seed for the idea was sown when Farhan did a blockchain event of sorts at Berkeley, right? So, in a similar manner, what would your advice be to young students who may be watching this video or who will be watching it later on YouTube, right? If they're interested in a particular industry, say, I don't know, applying tech to financial services, right? What are the opportunities they can avail themselves of at university and during their student years in general, when they're not burdened by obligations to family, or when they don't exactly have to earn 24/7. So what's your take on that, and what's your advice to our viewers?
So I do feel that we are novices ourselves, and we are not like good enough to give advice to people right now, to be very honest with you. But if I were to, like you said, like if I were to give any sort of advice, it would be that 22 to 27 is the time when we have the lowest opportunity cost. We don't have a family to support, nothing of that sort. We have like quite a bit of time to just run experiments, in our lives and like just career wise. I feel this is the best time to just dive into the middle of the ocean and sink or swim. So even if you sink, you will have learned quite a lot to proliferate. Like even if you join a company as like an employee, for example, you would become an entrepreneur. You would have skills that that basically make you a lot more of a generalist than just make you specialize in a certain skill set. I feel that's what entrepreneurship does. Yeah, so this is definitely like the best time to explore, I would say.
Farhan, how would you like to add to that? Any suggestions on your end for our young viewers?
So basically, Manan said the right stuff already. Like we honestly believe that this is like the best time because you have nothing to lose. This is like the best time because you just graduated from college. You don't have any. You don't have a work that you have to leave or anything that you know. You just know that you can try something out and you can fail, and there's no one who's going to say anything about it. But what you learn is enormous. Like what we have gotten the opportunity basically to jump into an industry we had no idea about. We jumped into solar thinking we were going to change it the first year itself or through software, but we literally fell on our face. We didn't understand how solar works also. And but that's how it happens. Like but the point is, we didn't stop there. We stood there and we learned the industry, and then we understood the problems, and then we made a solution. So you can't just make a solution and assume that the problems will be fixed. We learned it the hard way, and I think most of the people will learn it the hard way. You have to understand customer problems, you have to understand the internal problems and the industry, and only then can you solve a solution. So my take on this would be, just enter. If you feel you're passionate about certain industry, something you want to solve, your first idea will not be your last idea. There will be so many pivots. We pivoted like through that blockchain thing to marketplace to B2B. We've taken the entire journey from a B2C product to a complete B2B product. And this only happens when you take an effort and you throw a dart in the ocean, and then you understand what, if we never tried it, we would never have found a solution. So always, like, don't think, oh, what I could do. Like, basically that was the thing for us. We're like, we don't want to regret not having tried and failed. We would have, like, maybe if you were like 35 or 40 and then you're thinking back, oh, I had that chance back in the day, I could have taken that plunge, but I didn't take it. We didn't want that regret. So, it doesn't matter if you fail, but you have learned. Like, we got a chance to work in so many industries. Like, we've worked, like, literally we've been doing sales calls, we have been handling our own accounts, or we've been whether that's product building, whether that's tech, whether that's uh, every value chain of the vertical. You have to basically learn and then get the right people for it. So it gives you that exposure, like how Manan correctly said. If you directly join a company, they might not allow you to the chance to grow as a whole. You might be specifically good at one particular area. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Fortunately, I sort of just received another message asking a similar question, which you guys answered really well over the past 5-10 minutes. So it was a pleasure to have you guys. With that, we'd like to wrap up this session. So thank you for what you guys are doing in Clean Tech, because you'll be affecting the lives of about 1/3 of the world's population with the work you're doing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, your experience, and yeah, it was just a wonderful event on the whole. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much from me too, as well, to both of you guys. It was a really interesting session, a sector I knew nothing about before, other than from Over Energy, as Hardik said, from Stephen Fitzpatrick, who came in last year. It was really, really interesting to hear you guys' journey. So thank you.
Pleasure's ours, Hardik and Thomas. Thank you so much for thinking us worthy to be on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us here. It was great talking to you guys.
All right, perfect. That concludes everything. All right.